the Super Speedway.
Welcome to episode 230 of the Super Speedway podcast, recorded Tuesday, April 5th, 2022. I'm your host, Eric Young, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, James Cush. Had to bring up the right browser screen because you'd think after 230 episodes, James, I would know the intro by heart.
Nope.
But I got around Burgundy it, man. It's I can't do it. I even, like today, when I created the folder for the podcast and everything, I typed in 230. I remember that it was 230.
Yep.
I know the date, but for some reason I need to read the script or I'll screw up. So
Yeah, I mean, it happens to the best of us, bud. Don't worry. I've been there, done that. It's all good.
this thing's a disaster. It's always a
Yes, sir.
disaster.
Always a disaster.
Yeah. So, anyway, James, Richmond.
Richmond came and it went.
Yeah. I don't have
so
the
on to
snoring
new-
sound effect on my
I was
on
gonna
my
say, on to
soundboard anymore.
news.
Yeah.
Should we just go to news? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, I guess there's some new guy in the Cup Series, Denny Hamlin.
Denethy.
Yeah.
Yes. Denethy Hamlin.
Denny Hamlin gets a win.
Boy, that was Eric.
Weren't we just counting him out a week ago?
Yeah, I counted him out.
I was on the same bandwagon, man.
Eric, this race had everything fans want. Passing for the lead.
Yeah.
For a new winner for the season.
Right?
Tire wear.
Yeah.
Where did it all go wrong?
You're right, though. When you do look at it from that point of view, it did have everything people wanted, except it also had more green flag pit stops than we've had the entire season so far.
Oh, man. It was long. This is the problem with Richmond, though. I tell you what, though, Eric. I tell you what. This race didn't actually bother me whatsoever, but I figured out a life hack for Richmond.
Yeah.
And it might just be for Richmond. Just listen to MRN call the race, because they do a hell of a lot better job than Fox.
Oh, yeah.
Calling a race.
I really don't want to pick on Fox every week, but
I'm not going to either, but
damn, it's so bad, James. It's so bad.
Well, here I got kind of stuck in a pickle. I had to get a training run in because I'm an idiot and I'm doing another half marathon. But I had to get a long run in and I had kind of boxed in on time. So I thought, I'm just going to listen to the race while I run. This is great. And I really enjoyed it. Like,
Yeah.
I haven't just shut everything else off and listened to a broadcast. That was a great way to enjoy a race.
I mean, James,
I might do that again.
You've been to races, obviously. Doesn't it
Yes.
just bring you to the track because they play it over the loudspeakers? You feel like you're
Yeah, I
sitting
mean,
there, right?
it really is. I mean, for a race, especially if it gets to be kind of a stinker, throw
Yeah.
the radio on and go do something. Go mow I mean, it's pretty soon you and I will be mowing the grass here.
Yeah.
In Michigan.
I'll be finding excuses not to mow the grass, but yeah, same difference.
But I mean, it's I tell you what, I haven't shut things off around me and just tuned into the race that way before. And it, you know what it takes me back to listening that way is we used to do that driving in the car on long trips, or Detroit Tigers baseball on the radio outside in the summer. Like, that's the kind of feeling I got. And it was super nostalgic and it was just a great experience all around. And I enjoyed this race that way, where I think most people were really upset about a lot of things. I had a great time, tuned into the race for the last 100 laps or so on the screen, and got my fill and watched Fox bungle it right at the end. And, not saying that Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin were working their way through the field, and so good stuff.
Yeah.
I got a little bit of a double dip.
Okay, there's so many directions I can go here. First of all, I think I've kind of ruined it for myself because of this podcast, because I don't like coming to it without having seen most of the race.
Yeah.
So I struggle to do that. I would love to do that, especially for Richmond, because I can think of a lot of better things to do than watch Richmond. And I mean, to be honest, we're going into Martinsville this weekend too. Martinsville is usually a great race, but Martinsville is usually not a great race until that final stage.
Yeah.
Before that final stage, it's usually a snoozer as well. Especially when it's 500 laps, but fortunately we're not doing that this weekend. But so one of the things I wanted to point out, even though I don't want to rip on Fox, is there were multiple points in this race, James, and if you didn't watch it, a lot of it, you didn't witness this, where the race was happening. The camera was on the top two cars that were running single file, and all three in the booth are talking about a 3-wide battle behind the camera for multiple laps that Fox never showed us ever.
Yeah. Yep.
It was so annoying. I will say that the one bright spot of the Fox broadcast this weekend, other than Mike Joy, who's always a bright spot, was Chad Knaus. If you're gonna, I don't know if they planned this, knowing that this was going to be a strategy race, but if you're going to have a strategy race, there is nobody better to have in the booth than Chad Knaus. Other than, I mean, maybe a former crew chief that is on your payroll might be a good one to have in the booth every week, but for some reason we stick him in a studio in Charlotte.
Yep.
But Chad Knaus was awesome in the booth. He did a terrific job.
Yep.
So
yeah, fantastic. No, he was great on the call for what I could see towards the end. But this was a strange race, man. There was strategy all over the place. We had a weird penalty with Kyle Busch.
So the race sucked. The race sucked, and the race sucking, James, made the ending good. If the race doesn't suck, the ending isn't any good. We had a terrific ending, and you had a natural finish where we had a battle for the lead in the final laps, the last lap even, and no caution to lead up to it. No Eric Jones spin, no debris caution, we just raced to the finish, and it was quite a finish.
Yeah. And for those new to the sport, over the last couple of years, this is kind of what races used to look like a lot of the time.
These are the types of races you saw at Atlanta and at the Coke 600. Where they just went on forever, and then you got this great finish.
You didn't have a whole lot of restarts. I mean, you get a couple of cautions here and there, and then you'd have long green flag runs. I mean, we haven't seen long green flag runs like that in quite some time.
Believe it or not, there were races in NASCAR history that ran without a caution.
That's right.
Ever.
That's right.
That's not possible anymore.
It's not possible anymore. We had a guy lead every single lap. In my lifetime.
That race did have cautions.
Yeah, it did.
I mean, it did have restrictor plates too, so.
Well, and early on in this race, I was wondering if we were going to have another guy lead every single lap because Ryan Blaney was checking out on everybody.
Well, I mean, you could pretty much count on his crew screwing up, but they didn't.
They didn't. They didn't
screw up this weekend.
They do. Yeah, they were solid. It just didn't work out for him. Ross Chastain had some issues with Blaney, and Blaney had some issues with Ross, and I think Ross is going to be doing that as he moves up the field.
Yeah.
Ruffling some feathers a little bit.
Well, they talked about it on DVC a little bit this week too, that Ross is not used to running up front, and when he runs up front, he runs really well, and then as soon as he starts to slip from that lead, watch him, he starts to panic. And I think we saw a little bit of that this weekend. He was not. Yeah. I mean, he was running well, and then he started to struggle, and we started to see him get into it with Blaney and.
Yeah, there was some calm. Yeah, there's a lack of calm there, and he's rough. But
so 2 drivers dominated this race. Ryan Blaney led 128 laps. William Byron led 122. Byron was leading at the end. Obviously going to run away with this thing, and then all of a sudden, here came Martin Truex Jr. And it's like, oh man, Truex is going to catch him. This is going to be your race, and then Truex never quite got there. And all of a sudden, here comes Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick.
Here came Hamlin and Harvick like a freight train. And we should say too, Eric, that this race was just wild on strategy. I mean, you touched on it a little bit, but I think crew chiefs were confused as to what was going on out there.
Nobody seemed to know what the hell Truex was doing, and Byron.
I mean, guys cutting stages in half, and the thing with Richmond too was we had that weird stage staggering where the first stage was
so
super
damn
short.
Confused.
Yeah, the first stage was so short, and then you had a couple of long ones to finish it off. It was just very strange, and you had teams trying to cut it in half. And I tell you what, I did like though, Eric, was the tire fall off was incredible. Yeah. So you could stay out like Chris Bell, and you could get fresh tires, you lose a lap maybe for a couple of laps, and then start flying by people. It was actually pretty cool to see. I haven't seen tire fall off like that in quite some time either. So
I mean, you could get black flag. You could get black flag 222 laps after you committed a penalty, and still race to ninth.
Yeah, and that changes your strategy a little bit, doesn't it?
Right.
Can we talk about that really quick? What in the heck happened there?
So I'm really, really tossed over this, James, because on one hand you got to call the penalty, right? And and when you find out that they've done something incorrect, they have to be called for it. But how? Somebody tattled. Somebody had a tattle. That's the only way that NASCAR spotted this.
Well, I was reading that the official in the pits actually noticed it late
Hmm.
and said radioed up to the tower, and then it took another 50 minutes
Oh my
to
God.
review the tape. That was
If only
I'd
they
like
had a
more.
camera pointing at every pit stall that they could review. Oh,
I
they
mean, they have
do.
cameras all over. Yeah, they have cameras all over the track. I
There,
don't
the
know.
Hawkeye system, there is literally a camera above.
Yeah,
I've stood next to him at Michigan. There is literally a camera for every single pit stall.
and I just don't understand how it took this long. I would imagine that this will be rectified.
Yeah.
I mean, and I understand why the 18 team was super frustrated. I mean, they made the mistake. They didn't mean to put the tape where they put it, is what they say.
Right. There is
Which
debate
I'll believe
over
them.
there is debate over whether this was an advantage. With the old car, it was, but with the new car, because all the air is funneled through the car and the aerodynamics are created that way, there's some disagreement over whether it actually will affect anything or maybe even make it worse.
Yep. And what MRN actually did really good on the broadcast that I noticed early on was within the first 20 laps, a lot of the Toyotas were having brake chatter. And that's why they were adding the tape to the brake ducts, because you need to get heat into the brake system. The brakes are too cool. So that's why they're actually taping those areas off, which I was like, that's pretty cool. Cause Todd Gordon's on the MRN call.
Gotcha.
So we had I was listening to another crew chief do his thing over there. So that was really good insight.
So MRN was explaining that. Meanwhile, Fox was telling us what the difference is between loose and tight for the 7 millionth time. Cool.
Yep.
Cool.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Yes, they did. I mean, if you're Kyle's team, you got to be irritated. But I mean, NASCAR had to call it when they confirmed it too. So I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, you committed a penalty regardless of when. I mean, it really sucks that they got penalized when they did.
And it didn't kill his day. I mean, he lost.
He wasn't going to win the race. He came back to 9th place. So in the end,
he was really
it's a wash.
He was really happy with his car early. I'm not sure what happened there. He seemed like he was poised to have a really big day, but didn't work out for him.
Yeah. So again, last week James and I very vocally dismissed Denny Hamlin. I believe I said we've seen Kevin Harvick's last victory. Of course, he didn't win, but he finished second.
That was a good one.
Yeah, it just shows if you're coming here for expert analysis, it's probably not a great idea.
Yeah.
But Denny Hamlin gets his 47th victory, 585 Cup Series races. I don't have it in front of me, but the 47 victories puts him in pretty good company on the all-time win list.
Yep, he is right behind my guy Smoke with 49. Yeah. He is in a clump of some pretty good drivers. He'll get to 50 probably before it's all said and done. I mean, he's this close at this point. Even if it takes him a couple of years, he's going to get to 50. So that's pretty cool company.
This system is so amazing because the guy can be completely out of it and the next week win a race and suddenly he's, almost a favorite at this point.
Yeah. Well, Eric, and we you and I get into this fun little argument that I root for chaos.
Right.
And right now we're 7 races into the season and we have 8 playoff spots locked in. Technically,
right.
Speaking, because we have a points leader who hasn't won and we have 7 different winners. We are half of the playoff field is complete. And we've got 19 races to go in the regular season. So this could get fun. I pray that it gets fun. It probably won't.
It could get fun, but James, I will ask you, what race last year did we get our first repeat winner?
Race 8.
Race 8. Martin Truex Jr. So
yes, and then I don't think he won the rest of the year until late. So
right.
We'll get a run of somebody. It was going to be William Byron. I mean, he had this thing. Boy, I was ready to celebrate some William Byron victories. Dang it.
Yeah. So I mean, and it is interesting because we do have some guys up here that none of us expected to win. That are already locked into the playoffs. So
lots of first timers. Yep.
Or in theory locked into the playoffs. I would love to see more than 16 winners. I don't think it's going to happen. I just don't think. No. I think that number's too high. I think we're going to get close there. We may see 16 winners. I don't think we'll ever beat 16 winners. So
yeah. Eric, another storyline out of this one. One for the old guys. Because the new guys had won. Well, let's not say the new guys. The under 30s had won 12 straight Cup Series races until this weekend. So Denny Hamlin snaps that streak. Kevin Harvick right behind him. Their combined age is over 85. That is, I don't know what to make of that stat. I thought it was interesting. I just don't know, if the older guys are having a harder time adapting to the new car, maybe something like that. But I think it's great. We need Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick to Kyle Busch. We need these guys to win races.
Dude, I still want to see Denny get his championship. I still want to see it happen. Is whether I know a lot of people aren't fans of Denny, although there was a lot of cheering at Richmond this weekend.
That's his home track, man.
Yeah, you would hope if there was any place he's going to get cheered at, it's that one.
Yeah.
But I still want to see him get a championship.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of time for the Ross Chastains and the William Byrons and those guys to get titles. Denny needs one.
Let me do him a favor, and I'll cross him off. He'll never win a championship if he hasn't done it by now.
He's got it this year, then.
Yeah, I'll do him a favor. I'll say it.
You might as well get the engraver out and put his name right on the trophy right now.
Put it in stone. Yeah.
Let's see. Harrison Burton, our top finishing rookie in this one, 18th. Ryan Blaney is our points leader by a total of 0 points over Chase Elliott.
The tiebreaker. Although Racing Reference puts Chase Elliott first, I think that's alphabetical.
Well, NASCAR I would go by is correct, yes. And that's where I'm getting my report from. So
yes.
Let's see, 3 hours, 4 minutes, 43 seconds for this one. Whopping 5 cautions for 35 laps, most of those stage breaks. 13 leaders among 7 drivers in this one. Kurt Busch has trouble in this one. Lost fuel pressure and finishes 35th. That was a bummer.
Right off the bat.
Yeah. Greg Biffle finished last, by the way. Suspension issues.
The Biff, yes. Yeah, he was in the show. Good to see him.
Yeah. I didn't realize AJ Allmendinger was in this race. Did you?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was out there. Yeah, especially after last week, right?
Right.
I trying to find a few different things. I know we had a long Green Friday going. We've glossed over a couple of things, but I would love seeing Brad Keselowski having a really strong day to a certain point. I think strategy kind of thwarted a top 10 that he was going to get.
Yeah.
But he was 5-6 pretty much all race until the strategy got kind of weird. That was really cool to see. And I don't know if they are prioritizing certain types of tracks. I'd like to see what they do at Martinsville.
Yeah.
To see if there's some correlation there with what they're trying to do at RFK, but that kind of stood out to me because they've been pretty much out to lunch for a couple of weeks here. So that was cool. And then Eric Jones was really strong again early, and so was Chase Briscoe. Those guys kind of faded a little bit. Chase almost got a top 10, but yeah, those guys, we're seeing, I guess, the cream rising to the top, right?
Yeah.
A little bit with some of these drivers. I mean, Byron and Truex and Larson, you expect those guys to be up there.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, Christopher Bell led 63 laps in this one.
He was really good. Yep.
80 laps led by Martin Truex Jr. So those guys were up front.
A lot of that Christopher Bell time was strategy as well, where everybody was pitting and they were playing the long game.
Yeah.
You know what, Eric? Speaking of Christopher Bell and I guess Joe Gibbs Racing, one other note that we need to probably talk about in this race is we might have seen the future of pit stops.
Yes.
With Kyle Busch and the Joe Gibbs team.
Yeah. Record-setting NASCAR pit stop for 4 tires.
According to Joe Gibbs.
According to Joe Gibbs, yes.
Yeah, but yes. So for those who didn't catch this, maybe tuning in, you're like, what are you guys talking about?
They gave it plenty of coverage on Fox, so
well, good.
They watched
That's great.
They saw it.
Yeah, if you watched the race, then you saw it. But taking all 4 guys over the front of the car to start the pit stop versus getting the car to the stop and having the rear tire changer and carrier in the back. I thought that was interesting. Eric, I guess where I'm coming from, and I'll ask you is this a safety thing? Is NASCAR going to have to police this if everybody's doing this? Because that's a lot of bodies in one area, I guess.
I mean, I don't think it's any different because you still got the same number of guys going over the wall. Instead of before you had between cars, you had the same number of crew members. Let's say everybody's doing this or everybody's doing the old way. There's the same number of crew members going between the cars because they still split. Some went to the back, some went to the front.
Yeah.
So a little bit of history behind this. NASCAR, when they switched with the new tires, Joe Gibbs was working on this during the off season. They put out on social media that they were working on it. They petitioned NASCAR to allow it. This is the first weekend that NASCAR allowed it, so that is why we saw it this weekend. None of the other teams are doing it, just the Joe Gibbs teams were doing it. It will be really interesting to see if now that they've seen a team win with it for one, and seen how successful it was, whether the other teams will pick it up. I bet you they're all working on it this week. And Martinsville's not a very wide open pit road. It's pretty tight. So
yeah.
And there's a lot of risk to this. The reward is huge, but the risk is pretty big too.
Yeah, because if you screw up, let's say the guy in the front falls, you knock down all four of your guys. That's a long stop.
Right. You got two hoses that you're trying to navigate around the front of the car with almost twice the bodies. You're swinging that back hose out really wide and risking getting it run over by the car ahead of you and ripping a gun out of your hands. There's a lot that could go wrong here. So it'll be interesting. It'll be really interesting to see what happens. I applaud NASCAR for allowing it.
Yeah, and I'll say this too. You think, well, what, it was a second faster, 2 seconds faster, right? What's the big deal? Denny Hamlin, a Joe Gibbs Racing team driver and team, they won this race by half a second, 0.5. Yeah. So you could say, if you wanted to really stretch it, you could say they won this race on pit road because they got out in front of Kevin Harvick, and that was the difference. 2
seconds on some tracks is the length of 2 football fields.
That's right.
I mean,
that's right.
That's huge. Yep. That's a big advantage. So
yep. And this is something, Eric. I mean, our era. Yours and mine. Our favorite era, the Rainbow Warriors, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've seen teams revolutionize pit stops. It started with the Wood brothers way back in the day,
gluing lug nuts on the wheels.
Yeah, and pitting cars in the Indy 500 because they were so good.
Yep.
But you've got the Rainbow Warriors, and then remember Robbie Reiser's Bumblebees for Matt Kenseth. There's been a handful of times where teams have changed the game.
Well, and Joe Gibbs Racing changed the rule for lug wrenches because they engineered guns that were faster than anybody else's.
Their pit guns were out of control fast. Yeah. And NASCAR had to mandate pit guns.
Yeah, because they were spending too much money on freaking lug nut guns.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, so yeah, it's you definitely saw some history this weekend with it. Like I said, it'll be interesting to see what we see going forward. I'm really curious to see how many teams try it this week and whether the Toyota teams try it again. And that's worth mentioning too, James. The Toyota's been out to lunch all season. But we did see Toyota get a win this weekend. Best place to do it, obviously, is the race that's sponsored by Toyota.
Toyota, yes.
But maybe they've been able to take some of the stuff they've learned and come back a little bit. You think?
Well, yeah, the Gibbs cars especially were in contention. I mean, like you said, Kyle Busch was top 5 bound. Bell was leading. Truex, we thought Truex was going to chase down Byron. And then the only thing I would say is the 2311 guys looked really bad.
Yeah. Well, especially Bush.
Yeah, for a couple of reasons, right? But I mean, we saw some stuff here from Toyota because they've been the worst of the bunch so far. So this is interesting to see. I want to see if they can carry it over, something to kind of watch as they head into Martinsville, and then we've got the Bristol Dirt thing is after that. So we'll see.
Yeah, you mentioned 2311. I mean, I think, James, it's time for Bubba to show us something here. He's got to show us more than just good on super speedways.
Yeah.
He's been out to lunch on 1.5 miles. He's been out to lunch on short tracks. He's completely out to lunch on road courses.
Yes.
He needs to show us something. It's time for him to fill this role, man. I mean,
and I'm okay with it being difficult for some drivers to adjust to the new car a little bit. I think we're seeing some of that. But with Kurt there now, that team.
It'd be different too if I mean, I know last year was a new team, but it'd be different if he had a bunch of great runs last year and then he struggled this year. But he didn't run well last year either, except on the super speedways. So
Yep.
And the occasional one that slips through that suddenly he's up front, but he's got to show us something. Now we are going to Martinsville this weekend, which is one of his best tracks that's not a super speedway. So
and that being said, he almost won the Daytona 500, which like you said, that's a super speedway.
And he was in position to win Atlanta too until the last lap.
Yeah.
So
his average is off just a tick from last year. He's a position worse than he was last year, but he only had 3 top 10s all last year and a win. He's already got 1 top 10. So let's give him a few more weeks, see how he's doing as we head into the summer.
I'm not ready to put him out to
Oh,
pasture or anything like that.
I'm not crossing anybody off anymore.
I'm just saying it's time for him to start performing because he's not been showing us enough.
Yeah.
That being said, they had a loose wheel again this week, James. They already got a couple team members taking vacations. They really can't afford to lose another one. So
yeah, you hate to put everything on the driver too because it's organizational. I mean, Kurt Busch is another example of that. I mean, it's looks like it could be organizational right now. And the driver can only do so much at certain periods of time.
Yeah. Time for Denny and Michael to get their crap together, man.
Yep.
Get these guys a car that'll perform.
You know, and
they're just buying them from Walmart.
That's right. Thank you, Kyle Busch.
Yep.
Anything else with the Cup race though? I think we stretched it. We got more out of the Cup. We squeezed so much juice out of this Cup race. I don't know what else we can do, Eric.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we got what we're gonna get out of it. I really didn't expect the conversation to last this long. Again, you had a finish that saved this thing. I don't know. Okay, let's stretch it out a little bit longer. What can we do at Richmond? What can we do at Richmond to make... I will say I was excited. First of all, I watched the Xfinity race the day before, which, again, snoozer. Maybe a little less of a snoozer than this one, but not much.
Two guys led all the laps but one.
Yeah.
At that one. Yeah.
So, but we started this race, and I saw Kyle Busch go to the top side, and I'm like, ooh, we're going to have a couple grooves here. This is going to work. And then it just didn't happen.
Yeah. I know NASCAR didn't put any sticky stuff down or resin or any of that other nonsense. They wanted to let this car kind of work. I mean, like I said, I love seeing tire wear. I just don't know. I don't know. Richmond's just Richmond, man. It's not the action track that they make it out to be.
That's the thing. I think we need to stop promoting it like this is going to be some great race. It's not.
Yeah.
It's just that's just not what you're going to get here.
It's just it's Michigan Junior, or it's just an intermediate track that was squinched,
right?
Really. So
NASCAR has said that they're not, or Richmond or somebody has said that we're not going to be able to put sealer back down here like we did in the past.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. Yep. That's a bummer.
So, and I mean, again, I'm all for doing what you can do to treat the track to make the racing better, but at the same time, I don't think that's the permanent fix. That's the temporary fix. I mean, I guess they could put dirt on it. That's what Bristol did. I mean,
yeah, that was my joke. I was actually thinking over the weekend was, well, we could fix Bristol and take the dirt off of it and bring it over here, and we'd be in a lot better shape. But
yeah, I mean, you've raced NASCAR Heat, right? Isn't there Richmond dirt on?
There's Richmond
NASCAR
dirt.
Heat?
Yeah,
so
there certainly is. Yep. So it's not the best driving of the tracks, but
right. All right, let's move on to the Xfinity Series then. Again, pretty much a snoozer, but we got some excitement at the end. James, couple teammates battling it out.
Yeah, we did.
And old Ty Gibbs roughs up his buddy John Hunter Nemechek and steals himself a win.
Yeah, John Trucker Nemechek did not care for the bump and run. To that I say, do you remember what John Hunter Nemechek did in Canada to win that Truck Series race?
You stole my jackass corner because
oh no,
Hunter.
Save it.
I'll just do it now. John Hunter is totally my jackass this week because you can't sit there and whine about being pushed wide. Is all that happened. He just got pushed wide and didn't push him clear off the track and into a guardrail.
Eric, isn't it funny that fans loved Ross Chastain completely annihilating AJ Allmendinger 1 week?
Yeah.
And then when silver spoon in his mouth, Ty Gibbs does a very minor bump and run, fans go completely ape bleep and hate everything about it.
Yeah.
I just can't understand. I just don't understand. I'm just so disconnected from, I guess, what a certain type of fan wants. I don't get it because I'm completely flip-flopped. I hated what Ross did and I love what Ty did because
you don't have any issue with him pushing a teammate up the track, roughing up a teammate?
Hell no. Carl Edwards did that a couple years ago to Kyle Busch at this exact same track. No,
well, I think the other part of the argument is too, and it kind of bodes for both of these two. Chastain last week and Ty Gibbs this week. Both of them pushed guys out of the way that are not racing for a championship to earn a shot or more points toward a championship.
Yeah, Ty Gibbs is racing for more than just wins, even though I think all that kid cares about is trophies at this point. I mean, he's racking them up. Like Eric, I mean, we're looking at a phenom right now. He's
28%, James. 28% is his win percentage.
That is just unbelievable. That is unbelievable. I mean, he's doing things at that car that are just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable to watch him do his thing. He's winning races he shouldn't win. He's dominating. It's a little bit of everything, but
Kyle Busch is pretty good in the Xfinity series, right?
Yeah,
his winning percentage over his career is 9%.
Yeah, and I mean that's probably why people don't like Ty Gibbs, because he just wins too much. He's already at that point.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this is, if you're John Hunter Nemechek, you're not. No offense, but you're not welcome in this series. This isn't your series, so you don't get expected to be raced clean.
Yeah,
he wants to win the race, and Ty. Let's put it this way, I'll defend Ty, but at the same time, he's got it coming. He's got it coming.
Oh yeah, he's rough.
He is gonna get wrecked this year. If he keeps doing this, he's going to have no friends on the track. Ross Chastain's the same way. Those guys they're gonna pay for this, but they don't care because they're cashing the checks, man.
Yeah, I mean Ty is rough.
Yeah,
he's rough, but
at least he did it. At least he did it here and not lap 9 or whatever it was at Vegas when he wrecked.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And I think too, this is frustrating for John Hunter on multiple levels, because you're not as good as that guy.
Right.
And you were in Cup and you went all the way back to trucks, and now you're boxed out because this kid came in, didn't even sit in a truck.
Yep.
Came in and boxed you out because he's the next man up in Toyota's pipeline. You are not. You are not the next man up in Toyota's pipeline. If Martin Truex Jr. retired today, Ty Gibbs would get that seat over John Hunter Nemechek. I have no doubt. And they may say, well, we'll put John Hunter in because he's seasoned, he's a veteran. As far as talent level is concerned, if I'm running the show, I'm taking the guy that is, like you said, Eric, winning nearly 30% of his races. That kid is phenomenal. He can
know he's young. But if he's in the Xfinity series full time next year, let's put it. Yeah. I mean, honestly, if he's not in a Cup ride next year, somebody screwed up.
When you're winning at this clip, I mean, there's a lot there's a lot he can learn. One of the things he can learn is he's going to get roughed up in this series a little bit.
Yeah.
And it ain't going to be easy when he goes to Cup, but the way he's winning these races right now, his ceiling is so high. You hate to Joey Logano, the kid, and shoot him in there too soon, but he's really, I mean, he's, like we said with Chase Briscoe, Austin Cindric, like you get to the point where you're almost starting to waste time.
Yeah.
The rest of the season is not a waste of time for Ty Gibbs. This is a really great season for learning.
That being said, I think that they need to find a Cup car to get him a couple rides in this year. They need to find a Toyota and stick him in it.
Stick him in a 2311, a third 2311 car. Yeah. I mean, that seriously, like get him a couple of runs, because he's going to be there sooner rather than later. Like it's awesome. Yeah.
I mean, tops another full-time season in the Xfinity series, and he's got to be in Cup.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what else you can say about him. The kid is something. And I know the fans already don't like him.
Yeah.
Because they think he's gotten the easy way through. And I mean, sure, he's raced good equipment. But I've seen other guys race that good equipment, and when their name's not Kyle Busch, they don't do this. So,
not even Kyle Busch does this,
right?
At this clip.
Well, I mean,
now.
He did win every Xfinity race he started last year. So, I mean, Ty Gibbs has lost a couple, James. So,
yeah.
but yeah. So, yeah. Kyle Busch is. I gave you his win percentage in the Xfinity series, but last year was 100.
Yeah,
100%.
He's done that a couple. He's done that a couple of times. Yeah. Ty Gibbs has 25 career starts, 7 wins, 14 top 10s. He has led 372 laps. He has an average finish of 9.1.
Just incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I
want to look at the tracks he's won on. I'll list these off for you.
Yeah.
He's won on a road course.
Yep.
He's won on the Charlotte Oval. He's won on Watkins Glen. Kansas, Vegas, Atlanta, another super speedway if you want to put Atlanta on there, and Richmond. He's hit everything.
Yep.
Short tracks to road courses.
Yeah, there is no weakness, James.
Yep. Nope. Not right now.
None.
Not right now.
He hasn't won on a super speedway though.
Well, if you want to count Atlanta.
Oh, yeah.
He won Atlanta.
Yeah, you're right.
He won Atlanta this year.
Yeah,
Atlanta
right.
counts. If you want to, yep.
It counts.
Count
it counts.
Atlanta.
So
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
No weakness.
Yep. No weakness.
It's only his third victory this season. What do they run? 5 races so far in the Xfinity Series. So
yeah, they've run 7.
Have they run 7?
No. Yep, 7 of 8. Yep.
Okay. Let's see. First victory and second top 10 finish in 2 races at Richmond Raceway. AJ Allmendinger leads their point standings, 20 points over Ty Gibbs right now. Austin Hill was their highest finishing rookie. Would be remiss if we didn't mention that John Mayer won the Dash for Cash, is the highest finishing eligible driver. Now Gibbs, Mayer, Allmendinger, and Riley Herbst qualify for next week's Dash for Cash at Martinsville.
Pretty cool. I love the Dash for Cash.
I do too. I like the fact that it's different from the Noble 5 when they did that.
Yeah,
you had to win, didn't you?
Had to win the race, yes, sir.
Yeah, yep. I like the fact that they don't have to win. I like the fact that somebody gets the money either way. It just adds something interesting to the series.
Eric, that's an idea for a documentary.
Yeah,
somebody steal this. The Noble 5, the start of the Noble 5. I would like to watch that documentary because they had an initial qualifying, if I'm not mistaken, like it was an exhibition qualifying to qualify the first 5.
Okay.
Well, I'd like to go back
remember
and look
that.
at that. Yeah, I'd like to go back on that. That's
I just know that
jogged my memory.
The Winston Million was won in its first year and its last year.
Yeah.
Bill Elliott won it the very first time, and then Jeff Gordon, the only other winner.
Yeah.
The Winston Million.
Yep.
I love the Winston Million. I thought that was great.
Yeah, the Winston, and now you'd have to make it the Winston 10 million for it to resonate.
Dale Jarrett almost
$1 million
won it.
back then was a big deal. Yeah.
There were a couple other drivers that were close too. I think Jarrett was the closest, but
yep.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not much else to talk about here. I guess that's it.
That's it. Richmond, you're out of here.
Yeah.
We had short track.
We had 3 caution flags in this one, James. 24 laps.
Yeah, there was no.
2 of those were stage breaks. So
thankfully, Cody Ware got into something on Sunday because there would have been no on-track action.
They said on DBC. Well, actually, Nick Bromberg said, but they repeated it on DBC.
Ah, my boy. Yes.
First multi-vehicle accident at Richmond since 2019.
Oh my God.
In the Cup Series. So.
Nick Bromberg has gotten very quiet lately. I wonder if he's been humbled by something. I don't know.
I ignore him. So,
you know how much I love Nick Bromberg.
I know you do.
Sorry.
I know you do.
Oh boy.
Stocks and news don't have a whole lot, but the Hall of Fame class was announced, or the additional, not the Hall of Fame class, but the nominees, the additional nominees were announced this week. And James, you are going to rant about this. You told me.
I told you to clear out,
but I don't.
Go ahead if you want.
I don't
want to give your opinion quick.
I'm curious. No, I want to hear because I guess I don't 100% know where you're going with this, so I'm curious. What's your beef with the?
I am upset.
Okay.
I am visibly, mentally upset.
Yeah.
Here's my kerfuffle, I guess. Matt Kenseth should not qualify to be on the ballot this year. He should qualify next year.
Yeah.
He ran. I don't care what the numbers say. He wasn't a fill-in driver in 2020 when he replaced Kyle Larson. That dude ran an entire schedule that year after missing the first 4 races. Shouldn't count. I know that the rule says you have to be retired for 2 years, and he was technically retired in 2019 and 2021.
He wasn't, though, because he said he wasn't retired.
Yeah, that's a bunch of crap.
Yeah, I'll agree with you.
Thank you. I am upset about this. And here's why.
I forget the eligibility rules anyway, so I really don't care.
What they're doing. This is what they're doing.
They're screwing Edwards.
They're screwing Edwards, which really pisses me off because that guy should get in. Not that he's a first ballot guy. Don't get right. Matt Kenseth is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that he was going to go head to head with the GOAT next year. So we got to sneak him in this year first so that he avoids the Jimmy Johnson situation. Because we can't have 2 guys who just retired in the same year in the same era.
Jimmy's still racing too. I don't think. I know it's not the same series, man. But
we have so many drivers that we could have put in the modern era ballot that you didn't have to force. You didn't have to force Kenseth in because now Carl's going to miss out again, and we've got other guys. We're starting to, Eric. we used to have a problem where we were putting too many people in at one time.
Yeah.
And now we are getting a log jam of guys that should be at least considered, and we're not even getting them on the nominee ballot. And these guys are not getting any younger. Like we should start. I'm totally fine if we want to keep putting in some younger retired Hall of Famers, because we need we need that guy out there, or that girl eventually. We need that person to promote the Hall of Fame, right? We need Matt Kenseth out there. He's doing TV now from time to time, right? Carl Edwards is kind of an enigma.
Yeah.
So we can't have Carl Edwards out there. He's not going to be around. But like Harry Gant and Kirk Shelmerdine, these guys that pretty much deserve to be in there. They're going to keep getting boxed out. Jeff Burton's not going to get in right now. So Jeff Burton's going to have to wait.
Yeah.
And then here's my biggest beef. This is a personal beef. I told you to clear out, man. I was ready. My biggest personal beef is you have a top 50 driver of all time just sitting there and has never even been been nominated. And this is just me sticking up for my guy, Ernie Irvan. So I know there's bias here. I'm sorry, but Ernie Irvan should be on the ballot, by God.
Yeah.
And I'm just upset about the whole thing. That makes me mad. That being said, I love the Hall of Fame. I can't wait to see who gets in. Congratulations to the nominees.
I will say, Dave Moody interviewed Kenseth the other day. Kenseth, very humble guy. He's always fun to listen to. Basically, gave the credit to his teams and said he was lucky to be where he was when he was there. Yes, I mean, you mentioned first ballot Hall of Famer. He's got to be. This guy changed the point system.
Yep. 17
good
broke NASCAR.
Good or bad, he changed the point system. Jimmy Johnson the point system.
Mm-hmm. Jimmy Johnson before Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah.
We had a couple of decent points battles going into that season, and then Matt Kenseth won one race in 2003, and then just murdered the consistency to the point where we had to completely, fans were just disgruntled to the point where this was kind of, what this era was. This was the Tiger proof era. If you want to compare things to golf a little bit, where we had to fix everything. Everything was broken and had to be fixed. And hell or high water, Eric, we've been racing now nearly 20 years of the chase/playoff system because of Matt Kenseth. Yep.
So in addition to Matt Kenseth, who pissed James off, being added to the list, Tim Brewer, crew chief Tim Brewer, also added to the list for the
two-time champion
modern era ballot. AJ Foyt and Sam Ard are both added to the Pioneer ballot.
And don't forget the who was I going to say? Oh no, you got it. You said AJ Foyt. I'm sorry. Continue.
Yep. And then
I'm still fired up, man. I'm still fired up.
Lisa France Kennedy joins the Landmark Award ballot. So we get one from the Landmark, one from Pioneer, and then two from the Modern Era. Here's your list. This is everybody on the every one of the nominees for 2023. Modern Era: Neil Bonnet, Tim Brewer, Jeff Burton, Carl Edwards, Harry Gant, Harry Hyde, Matt Kenseth, Larry Phillips, Ricky Rudd, and Kurt Shelmerdine. Your Pioneer Award is Sam Ard, AJ Foyt, Banjo Matthews, Herschel McGriff, Ralph Moody, and then Landmark is Janet Guthrie, Alvin Hawkins, Mike Helton, Lisa France Kennedy, and Dr. Joseph Mattioli. James.
Yes, sir.
Who's your two? Who's your two for the Modern Era?
For the Modern Era?
Yeah. You can you can go. Let us know. Are you picking by choice or picking by who you think will make it?
No, I think I'm going to pick by who deserves. I'm going to go with who I think deserves to be in based on who's on this ballot.
Okay.
Matt Kenseth, one.
Okay. And
I would vote in Kirk Shelmerdine right now.
That's a good one.
It's tough though. Harry Gant is, I love Harry Gant. God, I love Harry Gant.
Me too.
He's
too.
Great.
I hope Harry, and Dave Moody pointed out probably everyone on this list is going to make it eventually.
Oh, they'll all make it someday. Yeah, they'll all make it someday. But those are the best two right now. And honestly, Eric, I think looking ahead 1 year, we're going to get next year. Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus are going to be on this ballot, and they are the two greatest at what they ever did, or who. Yeah, I can't talk. The greatest ever at what they did.
Yep.
So Kirk Shelmerdine, if he doesn't get in this year, he's going to have to wait a couple of years. Just like Carl Edwards. So.
My pick on these ones definitely agree with Matt Kenseth. personally, I would go with Neil Bonnet. Between what he did as a driver and what he did as a broadcaster, I really like Neil. Really would like to see him get in. So those would be my choices. Yeah. But again, anybody on this list could make it, and I would be pretty satisfied with that.
And I would add too, Eric, I think part of me would I would tend to vote in the guys who are still with us.
Yeah, that's true.
While we can. That's why I have a hard time. Like, Harry Gant's not getting any younger.
Right.
That's true. That's why sentimentally I'd like to see Harry Gant because we lost.
That's true, but you're always going to have new candidates that are alive. So
exactly
at some point you got to get these guys in that have passed too. So
yep, exactly.
Pioneer. Any thoughts on who you'd pick there? It's got to be AJ Foyt, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say Sam Ard because he's probably considered the first great Xfinity Series champion.
Yeah.
But man, if you got AJ Foyt on the ballot, his legacy's not NASCAR, but I mean he's a Daytona 500 champ. He's AJ Foyt. He's AJ freaking Foyt.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would probably put AJ Foyt in there.
And then I'd vote for Mike Helton for anything. So to me, landmark award's got to be Mike Helton in my opinion.
Yeah, I would actually, instead of Mike Helton this time around, I'd actually go Janet Guthrie.
It's a good one.
Yeah, she is the. She's right there. This is a tough comparison, but bear with me. Wendell Scott and Janet Guthrie to me are in a similar bracket. Not that they're the same by any means, but they are pioneers, and she was a woman pioneer. I'd love to see her get in, especially if Danica's going to end up on this ballot someday.
I was just going to ask, when's Danica make it?
Yeah, she'll get on the ballot.
Gotta be on the ballot.
Yeah, she'll be on the ballot. I don't know if you'd put her in as a landmark driver, or you could actually do both with her. You could put her in as a modern era person or a landmark award, and I think she probably falls under the landmark award.
Yeah.
But I would say Janet Guthrie belongs in. We gotta get her in there because she was a force to be reckoned with, man. She would not say no to to filling out her dreams, and she had a hell of a time doing it. So that'd be cool to see her get in.
Yeah. Just a note, you wanted Harry Gant in there. Harry Gant, 18 NASCAR Cup Series wins. Neil Bonnet also had 18 NASCAR Cup Series wins, James, and also the broadcasting career. So I don't know, man. I think I made a better case for him.
Well, I didn't. I went Kirk Shelmerdine. Sentimentally. I know. But you know what I'm gonna say? I'm gonna do to you, Eric.
What?
Is I am going to mention one other guy that I already mentioned because I threw a whole hissy fit that Ernie Irvan isn't in. 15 career wins, including a Daytona 500 in an injury-shortened career, and was a legit championship contender before he was, devastatingly hurt. So Ernie Irvan should be on the ballot. Thank you.
Yeah.
How was my rant, Eric? Did I give you what you were looking for? Was I?
Yeah, I think so.
I didn't yell and scream.
I feel like I could debate you on Ernie Irvan. But I feel like I could debate you on Ernie Irvan if you had the exact opposite opinion too. I think there's a good case for why he should make the Hall of Fame, and I think there's a good case for why he shouldn't.
Ugh.
So, I mean, again, he's another one that I would not be disappointed to see him make it. But I said, I can certainly see it. That's big accomplishments, but
he's up there. He's like the second tier of the NASCAR what if club.
Yeah.
Like if Davey Allison and Alan Kwiecki are the first guys in the NASCAR what if club, Ernie Irvan's the next step.
And I guess Davey's in.
Alan's in.
Alan got a championship though. So Alan's a different conversation, even though he didn't have very many wins.
Ernie's resume and Davey's resume are very similar.
Exactly. Now, when you mentioned Davey, yeah, okay, I could see it. That makes it tougher to argue against Ernie, the fact that Davey's in. So
Ernie's career ended in a much less tragic way, but tragic nonetheless, like Davey's.
Yeah,
that was a different era we're talking about too, Eric, because this is Ernie Irvan's entire career was pre-safety.
Right.
When
Davey didn't win a championship either.
But he did win the Daytona 500.
But he has one Daytona 500, right?
Yep, he won Daytona 500. Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess once you make that comparison, it's tougher to argue against.
I think
Ernie.
Daytona 500 winners are borderline in.
They get an edge.
Derek Cope, think you put him in. Austin Dillon,
Trevor Bayne.
Austin Dillon.
Seriously.
No.
I mean,
no. There's a line.
Okay.
There's a line, but you have to be a Daytona 500 winner and and I would say a championship contender.
Austin Dillon, you wouldn't put Austin Dillon in the Hall of Fame when his
not
career's
right
over?
now. No, not right now.
I mean, he's a Truck Series champion. He's an Xfinity Series champion.
Does he have 3 majors? He has 2 majors? No, he has 2 majors.
Yeah, he didn't win.
Got the Coke 600 and the Daytona 500.
Did he win championships in all 3 series?
Not all 3. I mean, he won the Xfinity Series title. Did he win the Truck Series title?
I don't know.
Yeah, he did.
So he got, or no, I guess not all 3 because he hadn't won in the Cup Series, but he won those series. I don't know, man. I guess you can make an argument for Austin.
Oh my God, we're having the Austin Dillon. We're having the Austin
This is
Dillon.
rough. This podcast is going to be short. We're already an hour, James. We got to talk about. We'll move on. Yeah, we got plenty of time to talk. Let's save the
Austin Dillon did win a Truck Series title. By
save the All-Star or the Hall of Fame conversation for the off season.
Eric, guess how many races he won in his Xfinity Series championship season? Guess.
2?
0.
0? Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Didn't win a race. Won the championship.
That's what happens when you're running for a championship when the Cup drivers don't get points.
Oh God, that was early on in that era too.
Yeah.
That's before that. Okay. Anyway, let's get out of here.
Other news item: Hailie Deegan came out this week with some news about reason why she skipped the Freedom 500, and also why she's been a little quiet lately. I don't know how much we want to get into this. She's basically
we don't have to go.
Yeah, her and her boyfriend have been dealing with threats, dealing with a stalker situation, just a really crappy situation, and one of those things that I guess I'm sure that a lot of drivers deal with this type of stuff, but as a female driver, you're going to have even more of this stuff, which is just crazy. I mean, there's a link in the show notes talking about to Jayski. On one of the stories, if you go follow Hailie Deegan's YouTube, she's got a video up with her and her boyfriend. Man, it's scary, man. This stuff is scary.
And what we should also note too is NASCAR has said that we are going to, have precautions in place to make sure that Hailie feels safe on our facilities moving forward. So
poor girl hasn't had any luck this season as it is, and now she's got another distraction going to the track. It just sucks, man.
Well, and this is the problem in the social media era too, Eric, because it's a catfish situation. People can read about it. We don't have to go into all those details, but Hailie Deegan is very, very out there.
Right.
And she is a marketing whiz, with the things that she's representing and how she kind of has branded herself. She's very good at this stuff. She's very, as far as a dollar and cents value that she brings, she's very high amongst all NASCAR drivers. Yeah. She's one of the top. She's very much near the top, including Cup. So she's out there, and it's just, you hate this man's world that we're in. I would never, I am a father of daughters, and this kind of stuff scares the living hell out of me when I read it, because it is just not fair that women don't get to walk down the same streets that we do, Eric. They walk a very different path because of, who they are and what they are. It's just, it freaks me out, man. And I'm scared for Hailie. Hopefully this thing gets resolved, and this clown gets, put away for being a creep. So go from there.
Yeah. I don't know that I have anything to add to that. It's like I said, it's just a scary situation. I feel for Hailie. I'm glad, I appreciate the fact that she shared this stuff with us. So, we got to get a glimpse of what's going on. I realize that sitting here talking on a podcast isn't going to discourage anybody from doing anything, because you already got some issues if you're going after something like this, but just leave these people alone, man. And even she talks about some of the social media messages and just the multiple messages that this guy's sending her and stuff. And it just makes you think, it's so easy in this age to just go on and blow up somebody's Twitter feed because you don't like them or you're mad at them or whatever. You got to remember there's real people behind these things. And they talked about it, I think, on DVC this week. It might've been on the Teardown, drivers dealing with this stuff. I think it was the Teardown was talking about it. And how it affects drivers when they're getting ripped. Just, cheer for them at the track, leave them alone on social media. If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. And just, I don't know, if you need mental help, get mental help, man. So,
and this can't be the only ridiculous situation that Hailie goes through, honestly.
Right. Yeah, I feel for her. I'm a Haley Deegan fan. You know, we've done our share of picking on her a little bit here too, but I want to see her do well. I want to see her stay in the series. So hopefully she can move on beyond this, and you know, lots of people are going to be looking out for her, so that's good.
Yep, absolutely.
With that, James, we go to Martinsville Speedway this weekend. We have night racing at Martinsville. We start Thursday night. I didn't even realize we were racing Thursday night. You reminded me of the Truck Series race this weekend.
I'm loving it. And we got William Byron. I just saw this, so add this to the news. William Byron's going to drive for Spire.
Nice.
In the HendrickCars.com number 7 truck.
We got some old washed up former NASCAR Cup Series driver that's racing the Xfinity Series on Friday night too, Dale Jr.
Yeah, we do.
So
yes, sir.
It was pretty funny. TJ Majors says on Door Bumper Clear that he's spotting somebody else this weekend. He's going to get yelled at for 2 hours instead.
Yeah, get berated.
Yeah, he's ripping on Junior. So those guys there's a good relationship between those two. It's always fun. Yep. Going off the picks last week, James got the win over me, 14 points. Largely in part thanks to his Christopher Bell finish over Alex Bowman, because I actually beat him by a point in the Xfinity Series race with my Justin Allgaier
you beat me by we've been close on many of our races lately. This is the Chris Bell, Alex Bowman was the only discrepancy of the whole last couple of weeks we've had, you know, the Xfinity race, but everything else has been pretty close. Yeah,
so James is ahead of me by 59 points, so I get to go first again this week. I was prepared for the Xfinity Cup Series race. Wasn't prepared for trucks. But James, I'm going to go with the guy with the best average finish here of competing drivers and go with one I picked already this season. I'm going to go with Zane Smith as my pick.
Zane Smith. Nice. Well, you were boxed out of one guy. I knew I could get him. So I'm going to take him while I can. I'm going to take John Hunter because he should be strong.
I mean, Ty Gibbs is not in this race, right?
No, Ty Gibbs is not. He's in the Xfinity Series though, so he's up. It's up to you, man, if you want him.
So here, Xfinity Series. No, I'm not going to take him actually. So he's out there still. I'm struggling with this one because I got 3 picks for this one. Mm-hmm. Am I going to go with my first instinct?
I know who I want, and if you take it, I'm going to be upset. That's all I'll say.
Do I go with my first instinct, or do I go with the more sure bet, or do I go with the risk? That's the question.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with my first instinct, James, which has done me no good so far this season. And I'm going to go with last year's winner, Josh Berry.
Oh, Josh Berry. This is the first time Josh Berry's been picked this season.
Might be the first time he's ever been picked.
He had to have been picked last year, right? I don't know.
We don't need to go back.
You could have. You had Noah Gragson. You could have taken Ty Gibbs if you wanted.
Yeah.
I'm doing this one for fun, man. This is gonna be my fun pick. Give me the man, Dale Earnhardt Jr.
He was. I almost went with him.
I got it. I wanted it.
So Dale Jr. was my sentimental pick. Noah Gragson was my sure bet. I feel like Noah Gregson's a great pick.
Yeah, I know it's gonna be good.
Especially after having trouble at Richmond, and he's great at Martinsville. But
I feel like, Eric, we have one chance a year to put that name on this list
right?
that we have, and
I'm glad you did it. I'm glad you got it. I'm glad you put him on there. He's gonna be good. You know, he could win this sucker.
He's gonna be good. He's going to be good. He likes those grandfather clocks too, man.
He could win this thing. I think Josh Berry is going to be a major threat because he's been running well this season, and there's no track he's better at than this one.
Yeah, this is going to be he's going to be tough. He's going to be those JR Motorsports cars will all be pretty tough. I wanted to see how Dale Jr. has been doing on his one-off.
He was not good last year,
but he's been good.
Richmond, he was really good at.
Yeah, so this is his 5th year of the one-offs, and he has, let me see, he has 3 top 5s in 4 starts. So, and those races being, hold on, I want to make sure I got where he's run. He has run Richmond, Darlington, and Homestead. And where did he run last year? Last year he ran, hold on, Richmond. So he's done Richmond twice.
There you go.
And he finished 14th.
Yeah, he didn't do well last year.
Yeah.
The Cup Series, let me point out too, the Truck Series Thursday night, Xfinity Series Friday night. Cup Series races Saturday night is the Blue Emu Maximum Pain Relief 400. I didn't give the names of the other 2 races. Blue Emu 200 for the Truck Series. The Call 811 before you dig 250 for the Xfinity Series. Cup Series pick. I'm going Truex, man. Truex was good this weekend.
Dang it.
This is Truex's track. I'm going Truex. So
actually, Truex is my second pick. I'm going with the guy who's due. Give me Ryan Blaney.
Nice.
Yeah, YRB. He's due.
I will say that my first pick originally was Denny Hamlin, but I don't see Denny doing it 2 weeks in a row.
No, this was my third pick of Ryan Blaney this season already. Man, holy
if
smokes.
he has pit crew trouble, then we know who the culprit is.
Possibly. You know, he's the anti-Bowman. He's led, I think, 7 or 8 races over 100 laps and has lost all of them. So that's the reverse Bowman.
Yeah.
So okay, so you got Truex, I got Blaney, and then we got Barry and Earnhardt.
Yep.
Oh, I love that. Zane Smith and Nemechek.
It's gonna be weird seeing Dale Jr. not driving the 8 car this year.
Yeah, he's rocking the 88 again.
Yep.
Be cool.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that, man. That's gonna be sweet.
Let's see. Fantasy League, I don't want to talk about it. So James, I got second to last. I finished the worst I think I've ever finished in our Fantasy League.
I had one of those races already this year, bud, so don't worry. It's not just you.
It pisses me off when I try. When I don't try, I win. Or I finish up front. I got second when I didn't try. But stupid.
So my brother-in-law Mike, he's rocking, man. He won the race. He is now the points leader. He beat our buddy Barron by just a couple of points, and then the champ is here was third. We know who that is.
Yeah.
He is lurking. He's starting to storm up the board. That's all I'll say. For the point standings, like I said, Mike is first, fast to the grass, and then Justin 713. He's been running strong. We've got a little bit of a gap here, though. Fast to the grass is up almost 40 points on Justin. Justin's up 40 points on me. I'm third. And then Green Eggs and Hamlin is fourth. Eric, you are sixth.
Yeah. Big thanks.
I'm always third. I'm always constantly in third. All the time. I live in third place.
Big thanks to Hot Rod Todd this week for being a little bit worse than me. So I didn't finish last.
Yeah, after back-to-back wins that dude had.
Right?
Yeah. Man.
Shout outs. James, I got one. It's been a while since I've shouted them out. I got to shout out Dirty Mo Media and the Dale Jr. Download. Because if you haven't been listening to the Dale Jr. Download, he has completely changed up the format of the show to where it's basically an interview with somebody he admires throughout the week now. In the last 2 weeks, we had Jeff Bodine 2 weeks ago. We had Ricky Craven this past week. Both just spectacular interviews. Ricky Craven, some really just nice words about Dale Jr., and I don't think he's wrong. But two drivers in Ricky and Jr. that followed very similar paths with their injuries. And then the Jeff Bodine thing, man, the history with Dale Earnhardt Sr. And Jeff Bodine, and just the stories that Bodine can tell. Both just
Days of Thunder.
Just spectacular. Yeah, and Junior even learned some of the things that they didn't realize were real from the Days of Thunder story that he confirmed were real. So yeah.
And they got Robert Wickens coming on next week.
Nice. That one will be a good one too.
Yep.
Jeff Bodine said that Days of Thunder is real.
Yeah.
that movie is real. Those stories are all real.
Yep. A little bit of Jeff Bodine and a little bit of Tim Richmond, and you got Cole Trickle.
Yep. So yeah, check that out again if you guys haven't. They've been really good lately. And I was excited to see some drivers from my history there. The Ricky Craven story is a great story. I'm a big fan of Ricky Craven. Didn't realize that he retired from TV during the pandemic.
He did. He did.
He was a great broadcaster, but wasn't.
He was good at ESPN.
Wasn't enjoying it at Fox. So.
Yep, he was really good at ESPN and until that run came to an end. But I'd like to see him come back if ESPN ever got the rights back. I think he'd be a nice fit. Yeah. To get back over there because he was really good, really smart.
I think ESPN is going to make a run for it this next time. So
we'll heck see. Yeah, they are. Yep. They're seeing the success of F1. I think ESPN can get in the game. Yep.
Well, and I mean they did the NBC Sports thing. Everything NBC Sports had is now on ESPN again. So
that's right. Yep.
They're doing good with hockey. I like the hockey package.
Yeah. ESPN wants live games and live stuff. That's what they want the most. So.
I'm excited they got hockey because it saved me a bunch of money on NHL Center Ice. I don't have to pay for it this year. I got it free with ESPN Plus.
Boy.
James, you got a shout out?
Shout out, 2 quick ones.
Okay.
Our boy Ryan McGee is finally on the Hall of Fame voting committee.
Nice.
So shout out to him. That's awesome. He'll be with Marty and a bunch of other guys who get a chance to vote. I mean, it's only right that we get those guys on the voting committee. So kudos to him.
Is there a list of the voting committee?
I'd like to find that. I don't know.
Be interesting to see what was on there.
I think like Moody's on there.
Moody's on there. I know that.
Guys you would expect, and then I think the defending champion always gets a vote.
I think you might be right.
So, and then I think existing or living Hall of Fame members get a vote too. So,
that's cool.
You can figure out probably the majority of the list. But,
right.
And then another quick one. Nate Ryan is doing the NASCAR and NBC pod again, and it's just really smart. He brings on, Dale Jarrett, Kyle Petty. Just really good guests. And if you're looking for a little bit of, and he keeps it short, unlike us. So if you're looking for a little bit of a high level NASCAR for your listening pleasure, Nate Ryan's NASCAR and NBC podcast is back last couple of weeks. So give that a try if you'd like to give it a listen.
I will add to that too. If you do not want to listen and would rather watch, it's also on YouTube,
there you
which
go.
I'm a big fan of. I wish Door Bumper Clear and Dale Jr. Download would be all on YouTube as well. I know you can get the Dale Jr. Download abbreviated on NBC Sports.
Yep.
But I prefer it to be on
Nate's,
be the whole show. So
exactly. And Nate's one of those guys I just, guys that you and I think we both agree. I think you and I look up to the same guys in the garage. Nate's one of them.
Yeah.
Nate, Gluck, Bob, those, Bianchi, those guys are all doing Dustin Long. We follow all them guys and they're all, high level, really doing great work. Nate does a great job. It was fun listening to Dale Jarrett this week. Hadn't heard from Dale in a while. So that was cool. And he brings a lot of good insight. So it's worth your time. If you got 40 extra minutes in your listening schedule, that's about what they run. So
I really like Dale Jarrett's a great broadcaster. You'd imagine he would be because his dad was really good too. So,
oh yeah, Dale's great. Yeah.
So courtesy of NASCARHall.com, the nomination committee consists of representatives from NASCAR, the NASCAR Hall of Fame, and track owners from both major facilities and historic short tracks, as well as one at-large member. The honors committee includes all living NASCAR Hall of Famers, Landmark Award winners, and Squire Hall Award winners in NASCAR and Hall of Fame executives. The voting panel consists of members of the nomination committee plus former drivers, former owners, former crew chiefs, manufacturer representatives, media members, the current reigning NASCAR Cup Series champion, and 12 representatives from the honors committee.
Cool.
There you go.
Yes, I think McGee's in because he's a Squire winner. I think that's where I think he's won that award. So that might be why he's in now. Yep.
Could be. All right, let me get back to the notes here. You guys heard my jackass. You got a jackass this week, James?
I don't know if I can top yours. Plus, I had my rant already. I think that covered my jackass for the week.
All right.
Maybe I don't know. No, I'm gonna let it go. I'm good. I'm done.
All right. If people want to talk to you during the week, James, how can they find you?
At James Cush on Twitter.
You can find me at TSuperspeedway on Twitter. You can find the podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/TheSuperspeedway. Our website is thesuperspeedway.com. You can find old episodes of the podcast, show notes, links to articles we discussed, past race coverage, all that stuff. You can find it there. You can find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Facebook. Martinsville Raceway, we go night racing, short track racing this week. It is the prelude to the Bristol Dirt Race, James.
Oh, man.
Cup Series Blue Emu Maximum Pain Relief 400 on Saturday night.
Just let me enjoy this one.
Yeah.
Just let me enjoy this one, please.
We'll be back next week to break it all down, talk about who's mad at each other. Hopefully we get some fights this weekend. We need some fights. We haven't had a fight in a while. It's time. We'll be back next week to break it all down. Until then, everybody, let's go racing.